I'm Sarah Star, and this is your space weather forecast for the day. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channel, where you will find content about your spiritual awakening, about the ascension symptoms, the solar weather, and what affects you. I'm also here to guide the star seeds and to deliver messages from the Galactic Federation. We have a very large and new active sunspot region that is surrounded by two massive coronal holes. We're also having these negative attacks right now, especially if you are sensitive to energy. So let's get into it. Here's a look at our sun today. We have 4 sunspot regions. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one is what we are going to focus on today. These are relatively stable over here, and these 2 sunspot regions are heading off of the limb of the sun. They are not producing anything. This one, however, is now in beta and gamma range, which means that it is more magnetically complex. Region 3490 has a 5% chance of having an X-class flare, and it is a large region, guys. It is also surrounded by 2 massive coronal holes. So if we get some solar flares associated with a coronal mass ejection, this is directed towards Earth. And as you can see, the majority of these solar flares are indeed coming from 3590. I said 34, didn't I? I said 3490. It's 3590. It is producing some low C-class flares, and that's pretty much what we're going to see throughout the day today is more C-class flares. However, we could see these M-class flares, especially with the new class magnification that it did develop. However, our C-class flare percentage, yes, 99%. We're seeing that. M-class flare, 30%. We can definitely see that, especially as these sunspot groups get yet again more complex and come together. And also 5% chance of an X-class flare from region 3590. And this is what that sunspot region looks like today. So you can see from the other day that it has gained a lot of these magnifications here. So it did go down in size, however, it gained some sunspots, and that's where we got this gamma range coming on. So beta and gamma right now, it could develop another magnification if it goes into that delta, but we can see right here the depth that it has. It is developing quite nicely. It is coming together, so we are going to watch 3590, but we do have that 5% chance of an X-class flare from this region, and we're seeing those C-class flares, and we have a possibility of seeing an M-class today. But definitely the largest and most complex region that we have on the sun. The others are yet again in a slight decay or very stable. We have 2 of those sunspot regions that are heading off of the sun, so we will be presented with 2 sunspot regions. Do you hear my son? He's saying meow, meow, meow. The kitty's outside. Oh my God. Now we did have a glancing blow of a passing CME that happened on the 16th. So we had a slight increase around 260 is where we were at, and it jumped all the way up into 360. Very minor, very slow, not much velocity. And currently the speed of our solar winds is around 360, and it's kind of stagnant there for today. And like I said, our solar weather is going to be very slow. So we don't have any geomagnetic forecast. It is going to be very low into these KP2 levels, maybe reaching a KP3 today because of that passing influence from that CME on the 16th. However, we're stable around 360 kilometers per second. So we are not going to be presented with any geomagnetic storms today, tomorrow, or the next day. We did, however, have a coronal mass ejection today already. It is not Earth-directed. There are no Earth-directed components. However, it did give us a type 2 radio sweep. Now, this is a far-sided CME, so yet again, we're not going to see too much. We may have a grazing influence. But because of the high velocity of this coronal mass ejection, it sent us into that type 2 radio sweep. So there were some communication issues early in the morning today. But here we are currently with our type 2 radio blackout. It is not really doing too much right now, which is nice. So it did die down from that absorption from the initial shock of that coronal mass ejection. But let's take a look at the Schumann. So we had some very interesting patterns, almost like a ladder, I want to say, because you can see the top rungs in each of these modes. Mode 1, Mode 2, Mode 3, and Mode 4. And what I've been noticing and what people have been reporting is that there are some very negative, intrusive thoughts that are going on right now. There is a lot of exhaustion, fatigue, and I believe this is from this astral travel where you go throughout whenever you're sleeping, basically. You astral project. Even if you don't even know it, you're still in that astral realm, and you're picking up a lot of these negative thoughts and these negative entities that can latch themselves onto you, that create this fatigue, that create this pain throughout the body, those body aches, the tension, the disconnection from source. You're just kind of out of sorts. You don't understand why you're thinking this way or why things are happening around you and you're reacting that way. It's because you need to cleanse yourself before you go to bed. You need to protect yourself because the veil is very thin. There are good entities, there are bad entities, and they can attach themselves if you're not protecting or shielding yourself enough. So these are those psychic attacks. It can happen through the astral realm. You need to detach from that. Cleanse yourself. It's harder to ground out that type of energy because it is literally attaching itself to your soul and you're bringing it back into this physical reality. But check out the frequency. We are still high in our frequency. Is this the new norm? And remember, the frequency of Earth matches the frequency of human beings. This is a consciously, scientifically, mathematically proven process. So that anxiety, that buildup, that body tension, yet again, intrusive negative thoughts, when the frequency is higher, you're purging more out. So it might be super uncomfortable, especially if you're not protecting yourself, you're not shielding yourself, you're not grounding, you're not hydrating. And it is kind of harder to go throughout that process when it's continuously back-to-back negative attacks. So join in on a 10-minute meditation if that is possible, if you cannot go outside and ground or the sun is not presented to you. But we do have some new energy that is presented with us today that's going to help lift us out of that funk. Because our moon is in Leo energy. Yay, Leo! This is going to shift our mood for the better, especially now that we are consciously aware of these psychic attacks that keep happening. Leo energy lifts our confidence, takes us out of that. It's not going to have an effect. And this is going to create that energetic spark today. So it's going to be very helpful because Venus and Mars have been in conjunction for about 2 years now, and it is ending, and it will begin a new cycle tomorrow. But our Leo moon is opposing both Venus and Mars in Aquarius. So it's going to destabilize emotions instead of amp them up. And this is going to be in order for us to recognize all those new desires that we are basically seeing on the forefront and what we are picturing in the future, but not too far in the future, okay? And remember, the moon in Leo can kind of trigger those impulsive energies, which sometimes isn't a bad thing. So we are becoming more conscious of what is exciting and what is passionate, and this big step in building towards that. We're about to see through a lot of new things. So let me know in the comments, are you being psychically attacked? Do you have negative, intrusive thoughts? Is your body completely fatigued? Does your body hurt? And is there anxiety kind of out of nowhere? Let's see if that Leo energy is really going to pick us up out of it. I'm Sarah Starr, and this has been your space weather forecast for the day. Love ya!